What's going on, guys? This is Mr. DeLORIAN here with today's brand new video, and welcome to my The Walking Dead Season 11, Episode 1, aka Acheron Part 1 review video. Now this video will have 6 different chapters of this review. Cinematography, camera work, acting, performances, editing, storytelling, music, and best moments, which will essentially be me just discussing my favorite moments of the episode. So let's hop into the first point, which is cinematography and camera work. Now I did believe there were a lot of really good shots in this episode that I did really like. The best one, in my opinion, with demonstrates perfect and really good cinematography and camera work, is literally the opening sequence of the episode when Daryl's standing in front of the military base and everything, and it shows him going towards Elijah and Maggie and everything, and all of them showing up, and them going in going down into the military base and hangar. I do believe that demonstrated some really good cinematography, and definitely a shot that I will remember in The Walking Dead Season 11, in my opinion at least. I did think it was a really good shot. I do think there were some good shots down below in the train or underground subway station or in the subway tunnels. I do believe there's some good shots down there and everything, but I also did like the shot with Maggie and everything when Negan was trying to help Maggie up and everything. We're not really trying to help her up and everything since he didn't really help her up, but I do believe that shot and everything was really cool and everything, showing the kind of it was a really good shot to show two different shots to show a power dynamic and everything, how Negan had the upper hand and everything, and how Maggie was technically the lower hand in the situation, kind of a different power balance, which I truly believe it was a creative way and everything, and a creative choice by the cinematographers and everything, and the people who work the cameras in the show to show that power balance and everything, and in that shot. But like I said, that opening sequence and everything will always get me as a truly really good shot and everything, and really good sequence in The Walking Dead Season 11, at least Part 1, because Part 2 and 3 could have way better shots and everything, but that's definitely a shot and everything, and a sequence that I will remember. Moving on to acting and performances and everything, I did think there were some really good acting and performances in this episode and everything. I did really like a lot of the performances given by people like Jeffrey D. Morgan, Lauren Cohan, Seth Gilliam as Father Gabriel gave off really funny and kind of a pretty serious performance. But I do believe the 2 standout performances in this episode and everything that really were serious and during tense moments was truly Norman Reedus as Daryl Dixon, Jeffrey D. Morgan as Negan and everything, and Maggie, especially in that confrontation scene between Maggie and Negan and everything. That was truly in really good performances, and they really did sell the moment and everything as 2 people that really don't like each other at really each other's throats. Moving on to editing, this will be a very short term section, and I did think the editing of the episode was good and everything. I did cut back and forth between 2 parts and 2 perspectives, or 2 sections of where our characters are at in the series so far. I would cut back and forth between Eugene, Yumiko, Ezekiel, and Princess and everything at the Commonwealth, and then our group with the subway tunnels and everything, and at Alexandria, and just all those segments are really well cut together. I do believe the pacing of the editing and everything is really well done. You never really get bored at any segment or anything, since it feels like it cuts back and forth and keeps you at each section really well. I don't believe there are really any bad cuts in the episode, in my opinion. Moving on to storytelling and everything, I do believe the storytelling in this episode is really good. It does really introduce us really well into what our characters are truly after and what their goals are in the show and in Season 11, in the beginning at least, in Part 1, and it establishes those goals and how we're going to be really going into Season 11 or anything, which is basically Alexandria is destroying anything. Our characters need supplies to feed Alexandria and their people and everything, since Maggie's group has come in and everything, and they're getting more and more people, but they don't have enough supplies, since their crops and food sources are destroying obviously the Walker horde and everything from the Whispers, scared off all the local food supplies like deer and all those other food supplies, so they're obviously low on food or anything. So it establishes really well that in this episode their main goal is to get supplies and everything, and to work towards that, and it progresses it really well, at least in my opinion, this episode, at least with our subway tunnel Alexandria group and everything. And I do feel with the Commonwealth, it does really it slowly gets into it, but it truly explores who the Commonwealth are, and it does really give us an idea on who they are and what they're what they're like, and it gives us a really good look into what our characters Eugene, Ezekiel, Princess, and Yumiko and everything, what their goals are and everything. And it gives us kind of nods into what will be happening in the future of the show and everything. I do feel like this first episode really gave us a deep dive into our characters' goals going forward into the series and everything, so we have more stuff to look forward to. So I do believe the storytelling of this episode was really well done, in my opinion. Moving on to music, I don't really pay attention to music in The Walking Dead and everything, besides that amazing, like, intro song and everything, and the amazing outro song. I don't really focus on the music and everything too much, so since I didn't really notice it and everything, I can just chalk it up to it was good and everything. I didn't really notice any bad tracks, on this, episode. Now moving on to the best moments of this episode. And I did truly believe the opening of this episode, like I said, the opening sequence was really well done and everything, with cinematography and everything, and just the sequence in general. I did really enjoy seeing all these characters fight together, and seeing this whole new area and everything, the huge scale of the military base and everything, and going inside the hangar. And I did find the opening sequence and everything, like I said, for the millionth time and everything, really good. I also really found it interesting, and I'm not sure if anyone else really picked up on this in the first episode, at least in the opening sequence, is that the opening sequence from when they first go into the military base and hangar, all the way until they leave the military base and hangar, and everyone's safe and goes up on the zip lines, there is not a single line of dialogue spoken besides the fact that Kelly signs that the walkers are waking up. And I find that very interesting, in my opinion. I also really enjoyed seeing people like Maggie, Lydia, Rosita, and all those people and everything on the ground fighting, and seeing all the women characters fighting. I thought that was really cool, in my opinion. And I thought it was very interesting and very cool to see our characters use the zip lines and everything. That was very cool and everything, kind of like SEAL Team 6 and everything in the Walking Dead universe. I did also find it very interesting how Daryl's arm, it looked like it ripped, in my opinion. Come on, it really did look like it ripped, which is a very gross thing to think about. I did find this section of them getting back to Alexandria and everything, and that's another point with cinematography, I think, and everything with them re-entering Alexandria. I thought that was very well done to show us the current state of Alexandria and everything. And yet again, another great thing with storytelling is them showing us our characters goals and everything, and why they want to go out to do these things, and how Alexandria is practically starving, and how it practically shows us two people fighting over food and everything, and how Gabriel has to break up a fight between two people. That was very interesting, in my opinion, and yet again a very well done thing in cinematography and storytelling. But I thought it was very interesting and everything to see our characters Maggie and her group and everything, and all those people in Alexandria arriving, and seeing that some of her people survived the Reaper attack on their old communities. It was very cool seeing Daryl hugging Judith and RJ. I thought that was a very nice scene and everything, in my opinion. And then seeing Maggie explain her people and everything about Negan, and going, oh, is that him, and everything was very tense and interesting. The moment of Aaron, Rosita, and Maggie and Daryl and all of them talking about, and even Elijah had lines in this episode. He had lines, which is really cool and everything, in my opinion. Seeing him actually speak for the first time was really cool. Since in episode, I think 17, his first appearance and everything, and only episode in these 6 extra episodes in season 10, he was completely radio silent and everything, and seeing him talk in this episode was really cool. But seeing Maggie describe the Reapers to people like Aaron and everything, and our group was really cool, and them explaining why they need to go on the suicide mission to get new supplies for the group and everything in Alexandria. Seeing our group going towards the subway station or anything, and seeing rain in the Walking Dead universe. I'll be perfectly honest, this show, and this is, I guess you could say, a bit of a flaw, this show does not really show off really many different weather patterns, and seeing them finally show off a different weather pattern besides just clear and everything was really cool to see and everything. It's kind of how in season 5 they had rain and everything. Season, I think 9 or 10, they had snow, and now they had rain, but it was very short-lived. I do hope they show off different weather patterns in season 11, but it's very cool to see a different weather pattern or anything. And also in season 11 trailer and everything, we did get to see Rosita coming into the house and everything through from a rainstorm. But I thought that was very cool seeing a different weather pattern. There was a lot of great moments down the subway tunnels and everything, especially Negan trying to all the times he tried to help the group and everything and guide the group, and Negan basically saying some stuff and everything, and Daryl going a funny line of, I'm not your friend, or I'm not your buddy. Now fast forward ahead and everything to the points of Maggie and everything saying, oh, this happened during the fall, and the whole mass grave that Negan did mention. I thought that moment was pretty cool. It's not one of my favorites in the episode or anything. It's a moment of tension between the two, but it's not my favorite. And I kind of fast forward into the episode or anything to the Maggie and Negan confrontation. Oh, also Father Gabriel's moment when Negan was that's God telling us to turn around with the rain and water and flooding above the subway tunnels. How he was Negan was that's God telling us to turn around. Gabriel was he didn't let me in or anything. That was really funny. But moving on to the big confrontation, I thought it was a really tense and well done confrontation, especially how it was said in interviews that Jeffrey D. Morgan really did not want to say the Glenn line or anything, and how Daryl punched him. I thought that was really cool, but really tense. And it really made sense in Negan's context and everything, since he doesn't know how Maggie's feeling or anything towards him. He obviously knows that she's angry that he's even, like, you know, around her, or even still alive. But it's kind of like, you know, Negan's kind of like, you know, I'm not gonna let her just, like, you know, put me down like a dog or anything, and how she doesn't really care about people. And oh my god, a new point I do want to add to this video, I think, is walker design, which there's only one really standout walker in my opinion, besides the one, the opening sequence where Dale's, like, you know, blood drips on. But the walker design of the, like, you know, walker that attacks, like, you know, Gage, which is another really cool scene. Like, you know, Negan runs after him and goes, "Kid," and, like, you know, helps him out. That walker design was really cool and really gross, and, like, you know, he was a big walker, and it was just really cool in my opinion. But the confrontation was really well done, very well acted and everything in my opinion. There was some really great cinematography yet again, showing Maggie above Negan out to her, like, you know, Daryl punches him and she shoves the gun in his face. But it was just a really well done confrontation with, like, you know, Negan challenging Maggie's ideas and everything, and then, like, you know, getting to the Glenn overstepping his boundaries and then Daryl punching him. I thought that all was overall very cool and a very well done confrontation and everything in my opinion. The only flaws I would have to honestly say about this episode are honestly the fact of, like, you know, it's not really even a flaw, it's kind of like a nitpick or something very stupid and small, but how the fact that the walkers were asleep, and how Kelly, like, you know, signs that they're waking up or they're awake. I thought that was kind of weird, in that, like, you know, the whole, like, you know, fact of walkers sleeping is kind of never been explained to us and everything. It kind of seems dumb how, like, you know, dead people asleep. I'm not even gonna get into it much more or anything, so it just kind of seems like a small nitpick that doesn't really even matter. But that was my review for episode 1, Acheron Part 1 of The Walking Dead Season 11. Like I said, this was a very good episode that I did thoroughly enjoy and everything. And make sure to comment down below what you guys did think of the episode and what was your favorite part, and make sure to touch on some of the points and, like, you know, chapters that were in this video. Like, you know, did you like any of the cinematography, the acting, the editing, or what did you not like about the episode, like, you know, with all the chapters and points I did mention in this video? Because like I said, this was a truly good episode in my opinion, and a really good way to, like, you know, shoot us into season 11. But like I said, that's my review and everything. Like I said, make sure to leave your thoughts down below. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more of the latest in the Walking Dead universe and more breakdowns and reviews such as this one. And yep, I see you guys later, my amigos, and peace out.